In this episode, I speak with Brianna. This is a very special episode because Brianna is a mother of 3 children and her first 2 babies were born via cesarean section. With her third, Brianna took her power back and birthed that baby completely free of the medical system to have an amazing and healing vaginal birth. This is such an inspiring story because so many women are told that after they've had a cesarean, it's almost impossible to birth your subsequent children vaginally. And sadly, most women who've had their children by a cesarean will just end up staying within the medical system and believing the lies that surgical birth is the only way for them. Brianna's story breaks that conditioned narrative wide open and proves that birth after any number of cesareans is absolutely possible and actually much safer than going back to the medical establishment that harmed you unnecessarily in the first place. Please enjoy this incredible story of Brianna's redemptive birth of having her free birth after 2 cesareans. Hello, Bri, and welcome to the Free Birthing in Color movement.
Oh, I'm excited to be here, Karma.
Yes, and I'm so excited to have you. This is, as I was saying before we recorded, this is another really great story because you are a woman and a mother that has had 2 cesarean sections and then free birthed your third child. So this is a really important story that needs to be shared for other women that are in the same position, thinking that after multiple cesareans, they can't have a vaginal birth. So I am so grateful and so excited to hear this beautiful story that you're going to share with us today. And
yes, it's very lovely.
So before we begin, the first question that I would love to ask you is, what is your ancestry and lineage that you're passing on to your children?
So as far as I know, I can go back to I can trace my heritage to Africa, to actually West Africa on my mom's dad's side, my mom's dad's side. Okay. And then I want to say my dad's side, we've always just been here in America, so native of the land. So but I claim Black. I'm a Black woman and I'm proud of that. I'm melanated and I'm a woman of color.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And that's so amazing that you know, like, into your mother's father's, I guess your mother's grandfather, like back that much back into the lineage, and that they came from West Africa. So yeah, some people don't even know that far back in their history. So it's really nice that you have that on your maternal side and to her paternal side as well. So that's really cool. So thank you for sharing. Yes. And then I'm very excited, as I keep saying, to get into this really awesome story. So where does your motherhood journey begin?
So I guess it was kind of instinctive because I'm the oldest of 3 children. And so I've always had kind of a motherly nature or wanting to look after and take care of my siblings. My brother, we're actually 14 years apart.
Wow.
Right. And so my sister and I, we're 2 years apart. And so as a teenager, I'm taking care of my brother, by choice. It wasn't put on me, but by choice, I'm like, oh, I can take care of him, or I don't mind, mom, I'll help out and things of that nature. So I guess that's where I can say it's someone started and then snowballed. When I got in college, I would care for children. Children just love me. And I would care for children. At one point, I was actually a nanny. And I just loved it. And the mother that I nannied for, she became pregnant again. I was just so interested in just pregnancy. I'm just like, I know that what happened for me, being a mom, being a wife. And not too long after that, I got married and things started happening.
Oh, okay. So do you want to go into that first pregnancy journey? What was that like for you? Did you have any knowledge of pregnancy because your mom had your brother when you were at such an older age and working with this woman that you nannied? Like, were you kind of in that pregnancy sphere and understanding that, I guess maybe not understanding, but seeing like more of the medical side to things opposed to the non-medical side to pregnancy and birth?
Right. Right. So I would say what I was my mom, she was very conservative.
Mm.
Um, so what I did know is my mom's belly was out to here like mine, like mine did, and that she went to doctor's appointments, she got scans, and I just was questioning and asking, a few questions. And then with the mother that I nannied for, I would just say, "How does it feel?
Mm.
What is it like? How do you know?" And different things like that. But she was also, giving me more of a medical answer to the questions that I had.
Right. Okay. So then
Mhm.
when you got pregnant with your first, then you and your husband, did you just right off the bat know, like, we're going to the hospital, we're getting an OB, this is how our pregnancy journey is going to be?
Yes. Per my conditioning and social conditioning and programming, I mean, seeing on TV, that's what you do. And in the culture that I grew up in, being Black, we're taught you go to the doctor, you go to the clinic to verify
Mm.
that you actually indeed have a baby in there. Because I mean, in your body and what you did, it doesn't matter. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
confirmed outside source. So that was the mindset that I was in. And I do think that is good that I start from my first pregnancy because it just pulls it all together until my free birth.
Mm-hmm.
So um so yeah, we found out that we were pregnant, and uh, I went to I went to a clinic, and they were like, "Okay, we'll do a scan." And I'm like 7 weeks, right? So I'm just like, I guess that's what you're supposed to do. So I go ahead and I'm laying there. I'm like, "Oh, this is the moment." You hear the heartbeat, and it's just so climatic, and it's just gonna be so full of joy. And she waved the magic wand, as I call it, and I was just like, "Oh."
Mm.
Oh, and I'm thinking, is there something wrong with me? Like, why does it feel so anticlimactic and more of like a ritual or a protocol more so than something that's bonding for me?
Mm. Right.
And and so that's when these thoughts started coming in my head, like, you know, maybe things are hyped, or it's not all that it's said that it was supposed to be in that's on that side, because that's all I knew. And I knew that my one and only option was the next step was to get an OB, to hire an OB, go to a hospital that you see fit, and you get an OB, you get a doctor. Those are my only options that I knew. I wasn't taught to have other options,
Mm.
if that makes sense,
Yeah.
or a birthing option.
Mm.
So, of course, I wanted an OB that looked like me. I wanted one that was preferably Black, because I felt she may understand me a little bit more than the non-Black doctors and OBs there.
Mhm.
But she was overbooked, and didn't have room on her schedule. So I was like, okay. And I'm literally on the internet, just like, she looks nice, I'll choose her. And because she had a pretty face and a smile,
Mm.
like, she looks nice and she has a nice demeanor, so let's go with her. And booked her and was up there. Um, the first thing she asked me when I got into that room, when she got into the room, because at first I saw the nurse. After waiting about 30 minutes to an hour, I saw the nurse. Then she came in. "So what are you going to do for contraceptive?" I said, "Excuse me." And in my mind, I'm like, is this normal that I'm being asked this right off. Like, this
Right.
is
And
my
this was a
first
white,
child.
she was a white OB?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. I'm not clear on her exact, heritage, but
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
she that is the first thing that she asked me.
Mm.
And then I said, my husband and I will talk about that, you know, and we'll make our decision. And she
Mm.
gave me a look like, you're gonna ask your husband. I mean, not ask your husband, but you're gonna talk it over with your husband, whatever. She gave me a stank look.
Mm.
And that was a red flag, but I didn't know that I could change OBs. I didn't know. I was you stick with, you hire one, you stick with one, and you go. You
Mm.
just do what they say. So that rubbed me the wrong way. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just let it go. I'm pregnant. I'm having fun being pregnant. And so like I really enjoyed my pregnancy. And as the weeks went by, I would go see her because in the system we see them every 4 weeks.
Mm.
And then up until a certain point is every 2 weeks, and every up until a certain point is every week, right?
Mm.
So at the time I had state insurance. So that's actually a key point. So she took my state insurance, and I went to more appointments, and each time after it, she would tell me that I needed to lay off the cookies, eat less calories, lay off the sweet, because
No.
my because of the way I carried, I looked like I was gaining so much weight, or I looked like I was super big. And I cried after every appointment, like that she mentioned that.
That's
Like,
terrible.
are you exercising? Not once did she ask me my heritage or did your mother carry that way. She didn't ask me any of that.
Mhm.
And I mean, looking back, I really wish I knew I had the option to switch it over to someone else, even if, I mean, like, it was just really mean to me
Of course
in a
that's
sense.
mean.
Like,
That's terrible to say that to someone who's pregnant. It's terrible to say that to someone anyways, but like especially to a pregnant woman going through her first journey.
right, exactly. And honestly, I was smaller then than I am later pregnancies, but still, like the way I carry all in the front. And from the front, if she's only looking at me from the front, the illusion is you're big. And she would say that. So I would I would voice my concern a little bit to, close ones, but also because of their conditioning, they're like, well, maybe she's right. Or maybe, she's the expert. So probably try to lay off the sweets or don't eat as much. I'm like, I'm barely eating if anything, she's gonna make me eat sweets.
Exactly. And
But
that's the
being
thing. If she were like, if any doctor, OB, medical midwife, whatever, is to bring up the conversation of weight during pregnancy, one, it's great that a mother is gaining weight. But two, you don't just tell a woman, oh, you need to stop eating sweets. You would maybe speak to them and say, like, hey, how is your diet? Are you eating enough protein? Are you getting this and that? Do you feel healthy in the way that you're eating? What's your new, you go about it in a nice way to kind of educate and guide the mother, not just say, you need to lay off sweets and like not even have any backstory behind this person's body. It's so baffling and so crazy that she would say that to you.
like with the whole right. And it was just she was just really she just seemed to be getting really cold and basically securing a check,
Mhm.
innocent. Like I was getting that feeling, but like I said, I didn't know that I within the system how to navigate. I didn't know that I had options within the system or even just to be outside the system completely.
Mm.
So anyhow, she and at the time I'm villainizing the OB. and not necessarily villainizing the system and how it was set up, because I'm being held to a white standard of, the weight to carry, how much weight to gain. And I lived in the South, in Louisiana. So fast forward, I'm like, you know what, I cried, but then I got over it. And then the weekly appointments came up, the one where I go every week. And at 39 weeks, I believe, 39-week appointment. It was a Monday. I went in and she's like, okay, well, I'm scared that it might be a big baby, so let's do an ultrasound, and then we'll come in. You'll come into the office and do the a cervical check. And I'm just going with it, right? Because like I'm just okay, right. So go in there, they try to measure the baby and all that jazz. And so I go into her office and she does a cervical exam. The next morning, I wake up around 6. So this is Tuesday. I wake up around 6, and I notice there's a puddle in my underwear. I didn't know if it was pee, if I were leaking amniotic fluid. So I was just like, well, I don't know what it is. So I called my husband. I was like, well, I might be leaking, I may not be, I don't know. And he was like, well, maybe go to assessment just to be sure, because that's where our mentality was at that time. I said, okay, I'll do that after dinner, right? I wasn't pressed. Like my whole pregnancy, I was taking it day by day, enjoying it. Oh, you look like you about to pop. I'm like, okay, but I'm taking it day by day. I'm just chilling. I'm chilling. I'm not rushing anything. So I end up going to assessment with my mother-in-law, and I, from my own account, told them around 6 a.m. I noticed that there was a puddle. I don't know if it was amniotic fluid. So the nurse is typing into the computer, leaking since 6 a.m. And I said, I hadn't noticed anything afterwards. Nothing else was leaking afterwards. She's like, okay, that's fine. Right. And so then they were like, well, let's take you to ultrasound so we can see your levels, your water levels. I was like, okay. And I go in there. Oh my goodness, it's low. And so we need to call your OB. We're going to call your OB. So they call my OB, and they're trying to wait to see if, they need a catch and release or a catch and keep. And while I'm sitting in the assessment room, well, the room that they have, they hooked me up to a monitor. And I looked over and I noticed that I was having, at that time, I would call them contractions. I said, hey, there's one. I didn't even feel it, right? So I'm kind of getting a little excited, like, whoa, this is cool. I don't even feel it, and I'm doing it. My body is working, I'm getting a little hype. So then the nurses come back in. They say, well, your OB wants you to be admitted and started on Pitocin. Oh, she wants you induced. And I was like, induced? I don't want to be induced. I'm doing it already, I was pointing to, I'm like, my body's already doing it. Like, well, your fluids are low, and the baby is in danger, so we want to make sure that we can monitor and start the process.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So I'm just reluctantly like, all right, you know what? I didn't want this inducing medication, the Cervidil, whatever they had at the time, Pitocin, all that yucky stuff. I did not want it. I just was like, as long as I don't get an epidural, fine. That was my train of thought to kind of appease myself for doing it. So then they put me in a wheelchair, because of course I can't walk, even though I walked in there and walked everywhere else up until that point. Put me in a wheelchair, took me to labor and delivery. And are you there?
I'm still here. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure my sorry, I think my phone is doing something. Okay. All right. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see you and hear you.
Okay, great. So I get up to labor and delivery. They put me on Pitocin. Well, they started the induction. And after about an hour being on it, I was in so much pain. So much pain. And after a while, my parents had got there. My husband wasn't there yet because he was still working. But my mom got there, my brother was there. He came in, he's very inquisitive. So he's looking at the computers and the monitors and the graphs. He said, "Whoa, this one didn't was so big, it didn't even register on the paper." And I'm looking over to the side, kind of and trying to catch my breath. I said, "What?" I said, "So my body's being overworked." And it's coming about the same, like every 5 minutes, like it was when I was in assessment, but it's so much more painful.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of baffled. I'm like, how, why? And they come in doing cervical checks every hour or every so often. And they're like, okay, you're about 3 centimeters, we're gonna wait a little while longer and everything. I'm like, okay. So then um uh the pain got so intense that I begged them for an epidural, and which I did not want. I did not want epidural at all. And
But that's the thing, when you get induced with Pitocin, because it's a synthetic form of oxytocin, it overrides your body's,
yeah,
natural function. And of course, these contractions, they come on stronger, they come on longer, they're way more intense. So it's like they're literally torturing you and any woman that has Pitocin inductions. It's like a torture device to get women to then have an epidural, because
yeah.
they're just in so much pain that the body just goes into a state of panic and trauma. So like, even though you went in thinking, I'm not going to get this epidural, I can do this, it's not surprising. I hear this from women all the time that, the Pitocin starts and then they're just like, what the hell is happening to me? And they just take the epidural because that's the kindest thing to do for their own bodies. It's so sad. And I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Like, it's terrible. It sounds awful.
Yeah, and it was. And the fact that I'm begging them
Mm-hmm.
out of my misery. But
Mm.
they're anyways. So I have the epidural, and it's still, it's still my uterus is still being overworked, right?
Mm.
And then after some time, they're like, okay, so yeah, your OB wants us to artificially rupture your membranes, your amniotic sacs, just to help things go along. To help things go along.
Right.
Just want to make sure it's okay. Here we go.
Yeah, you're still good.
So, okay. So, they did that, right? So the less experienced nurse actually stepped up to do it. I guess it was a teaching hospital.
Mm.
She took the hook, yanked it. Whoa, it's so much. It's so much fluid. I lift up my head. I said, how? You all told me I had little to none, that
Mm-hmm.
my baby's in danger. That is the whole reason why I even agreed to go upstairs to labor and delivery, to get induced, to put myself through this, because you all said XYZ.
Mm.
And I believed you all. So I'm livid at this point. Like I'm like, I just want to get this over with, right? So I guess I'm in and out of sleep throughout the night. And then by the next morning, my husband, he's there, and I'm catching him up on things, and he's saying, well, you did what you thought was best for the baby, and I understand that. I said, but I'm so upset. He said, well, just calm down and try to, he just trying to console me. So by that afternoon, so by this time, I had been admitted for about 20 hours, 22 hours or so. And my actual OB comes in, the pretty face smile. Hi. So, if if you're not progressing as much in the next couple of hours, we're gonna have to do a C-section. I'm sorry. And like, she was talking in that manner. And she was saying, your waters have been open for 36 hours. Like, she's telling it definitively. And in my mind, I'm like, that's from my own account. Unless you know something I don't, of what you did during that 39-week checkup, like a day and a half before. Yeah. Doing a cervical check, but actually it was, you did a membrane sweep. Unconsented. Just to secure a check that week, or to secure a laboring mother for that week. Whatever it was, only God knows the truth. So when she said that, I cried. She left, I cried. I'm like, I don't want a C-section. I'm crying to my husband. She had already said, you're about you're at 4 centimeters, and stretched, you're about 6. And I'm just like, what does that mean, huh? Stretch 6. And she's like, it's just not progressing. So flowers, I actually got a fever from being on the epidural so long. My body, I got a fever. I started chattering, like I could not control the chattering in my jaw. And by this point, I'm just like, just do whatever. Just do whatever. Oh, we're scared your baby might get an infection because your waters are open and all this other stuff. I'm just like, I just want to be safe, and I just want my baby to be fine. And so I just gave it up. And then after that, they numb a woman completely from the chest down to the toes, and they shaved me. I'm just looking up at the ceiling like, when is this going to be over? Like, just get it over with. I'm just laying there taking it. And I actually have videos recorded of me just like waving away, like, I can't even answer that right now. I don't want to talk. I can't answer it. Just get it over with. They wheel me to the OR, and it's white walls. It's bright. My left arm, I remember my left arm is extended for the anesthesiologist. And I'm just laying there angry and sad. And oddly enough, curious, because this is my first birth experience. And so there's a light overhead. I look up and I can kind of see what they're doing, right? I see the blood. I see, I hear them soldering or tearing open the flesh, burning the flesh, and all that creepy stuff, laying there on the altar. And so finally, the baby, I feel like someone punched me a little bit in my gut. And then they say, here's your baby. And they show my baby over the veil, and I look and I just turn away because my body was just like, where did this baby come from? Like, I didn't push this baby out. Like, I think I just went into shock for that first second of looking at my baby. And then I look back, I'm like, okay. And then I'm looking, and my baby's head is cone shaped. And I'm just, at that time, I'm questioning, like, how is her head cone shaped? And y'all said she was high. She wasn't labor or birth wasn't progressing, but her head is showing me that she was on her way. If people had patience. So Oh, also, I didn't say this. My the OB, the surgeon that did the C-section wasn't even my OB. It was another one that was on call. I didn't know her.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know her at all. Hi, I'm so and so. And I'm just like, who are you? Where did you come from? And
Mm.
why isn't it the woman that so they're on rotating shifts and all that jazz, but I'm just like, okay. So afterwards, I'm tired. I'm like, okay, so do I go home? Do I stay? Well, you need to stay, we need to monitor you and press on your belly. And here's some pills, here's some oxycodone, for the pain if you have any. They make sure they come in and watch a woman take the pills. I hid it under my tongue and then I spit it out. Because I was like, I don't do drugs like that. So
And that's so crazy that they would give a brand new mother oxys right after a cesarean. Like, yes, I know that that's major surgery and she's going to be in pain, but like to give her narcotics to be like, here, just like wash away the pain.
yeah.
It's so crazy to me that that's just accepted. Yet, yeah, oh gosh, it makes no sense. Oh.
And the fact that I was breastfeeding. So it's like I was in my mind, I'm just like, I don't think this is I don't know. Y'all already pumping her full of antibiotics because of course they were like, just in case she had got a fever or an infection, we're gonna do antibiotics with her. And she ended up throwing up. I'm fussing at the nurses, I'm screaming, I'm crying. I'm like, get me out of this place, right?
Yeah.
So so postpartum, I think I was just so focused on being a new mom that I don't even know if I actually felt the trauma as deeply as it hit me, if that makes sense. I guess I compartmentalized that experience.
Mm.
I knew that, I didn't like it, but I was like, I'm focusing on my child. I'm focusing on my child and I can have another child if I want to. So it was like I was itching to give birth. I don't know if any other woman feels that way as far as birthing, but it's like I was itching to birth the way that I wanted. So I was like, know what? I'm gonna go to the same hospital. If I get pregnant again, I'm gonna go to the same hospital, get a different doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm gonna go fish in the same pond with a different rod and expect
Mm-hmm.
to get a different fish. But at that time, that's what made sense. And in Louisiana, if a woman has had a prior C-section, they don't allow medical midwives to attend home births with them.
Okay.
So, so I knew I had the option of a medical midwife, or I thought I had the option, but that was that wasn't even for me since I've had a C-section.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna get another doctor and be more on top of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up about 7 months later, we became pregnant again. I wanted my children close so they can, play together. And pregnancy was fine. I usually enjoy my pregnancies. And I go to the OB. This time I got the OB that was black, and that was the one that actually did my surgery the first time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. So I thought, okay, I hit the jackpot. So that's good. She's done my surgery before, and
Oh,
like,
Bree, you're frozen.
how
Sorry.
about now?
Yeah, you just froze there. You're back. Um, but could you say that
Okay.
again after you went to the OB that did your surgery with your first child, your first daughter?
Right. So when I got pregnant with my second one, I went to the hospital, the same hospital but I got the OB that did my surgery the first time. So she was Black. So I was kind of happy. I thought I hit the jackpot. And this time I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stay on top of things. I'll make sure I'm eating, making sure I'm getting my iron through the leafy greens, all that jazz, like all that. And at that time I had even changed my diet, not because of that other OB, but that's just how my lifestyle was going. Like we had changed a lot of what we ate in our lifestyle. So I was actually in a better place. So I drafted my own birth plan and birth choices. And I made sure I was saying no augmentation of any kind, no this, no that. I want this, I want that. And we went over it, right? And she signed off on it. So I was like, well, this is great, right? She's on board. Week 36 comes around and the fangs start showing. And she said, well, I may want to induce you. I may not let you go past 40 because you might be having a big baby.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and I didn't say, so my first baby, she came out 8 pounds, 5 ounces. Okay. That was my first child. So maybe that's just how my body grows them.
And that's an average weight for a baby.
Right. So she flipped the script on me. And I left that appointment confused. And I was crying because I'm like, I thought I did everything right as far as try to take control of my birth choices within the system, making sure that I vocalized and was heard, all that. So I was like, you know what? I'm not doing no induction. I'm not doing that. I'm taking it one day at a time, like I did the last time. Like I wasn't in any rush. So about week 40 comes up. They are blowing up my phone, right? Because this is a business and they want to make sure they got their customer in.
Yeah.
And especially one that could potentially.
Oh, you still there? Bree?
Yes, I can't see you.
No, I can't see you either. I'm just gonna pause the recording. So
let me know.
This meeting is being recorded. This meeting is being recorded.
So the 40-week mark rolled around. They were blowing up my phone. And by them, I met the nurses, the hospitals. They're like, oh, you're 40 weeks. You need to come in, right? And I'm like, labor hasn't started yet, or nothing started yet. So I'm just gonna wait it out, right? I hung up that phone call once, and then they kept calling me again. I just didn't answer. So about 40 weeks and 5, that's when I started noticing a pattern. And I started having surges, waves, contractions every 20 minutes. I said, it started. I'm getting excited again. I said, I let it happen on its own. Oh my goodness. So I was of course, from learned through the medical system is you wait till what, 411. It's like I can't remember what the 4 stands for, but one contraction for 1 hour lasting, or one contraction every 4 minutes lasting 1 hour, something like that, whatever. I basically did that. And they actually got down to about 1 to 2 minutes apart, and I'm at home. And I was managing.
And I was like, I thought in my mind, I'm like, I thought it was going to be way more intense than this, but it wasn't. So I was like, okay, we can go to the hospital now. That's where I messed up. So my husband took me to the hospital. Upon walking into assessment, I'm having a contraction at the desk, and I squat down. I'm doing my J breathing because that's the thing that really helps me. I do my J breathing. I'm loud. I didn't care. And the woman at the desk, you need to get up. Get up before you scare the other patients or
Oh my
people in
God.
here. I'm like, are you serious, woman? Are you serious? So I'm in there and I get after about an hour of waiting, I get admitted. I don't have to be on Pitocin. I'm not induced because my body already started. So my husband and I walk into the labor and delivery room. Or well, I was wheeled up there and then I, get up to walk to the bed. And I told the nurse I was already in there, I said, I need to stand. I need to stand. And at that moment, I'm having a contraction. She said, no, you need to get in the bed. You need to lay down. And I said, no, I need to stand. I need to stand. And like, she's really going back and forth with me. And then she goes to check my chart. Oh, you can stand. You're good. So you're not listening to the patient and you're checking a chart to verify what I need to do, but you're not prioritizing me.
It's crazy.
That was beyond me. So I'm there, and of course, per biology and the hormonal matrix, my contractions actually were becoming painful because it was less oxytocin and more adrenaline running through my body. So so it's just becoming very hard because I'm in a place where I've had actual trauma. I am in an unfamiliar place because at home I was going with the flow, going with the waves, and it wasn't all that uh intense in a sense. And then it was cold, the bed wasn't comfortable, all that, and the nurses and these staff members are giving me a hard time. So it was just all of that. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just have this baby, get out of here, right? Because I'm gonna show y'all. In my mind, I'm gonna show y'all. So, but my body is not lying. My body is not trying to conform to this system that my mental was trained to be okay with. So anyhow, it got really, really intense. What did I do? I begged them for narcotics this time because that was an option. I was like, I'm not getting an epidural. Give me the good stuff. And so I don't even remember what they gave me, but they handed me a card that explained what it was. But at that time, I was like, I can't read this. I'm high. Like, how is it okay for a woman?
Was it something that they just like put into your IV to give you the pain relief?
I think it was, I can't remember. I think it was I'm trying to remember if it was pills or the IV. It could have been the IV. It could have been the IV. Also, I was hooked up to the machine around my belly, and that was aggravating me because my baby kept kicking it, and then I didn't want it on me, so I kept trying to pull it down, and they were like, "You have to keep this up. You've had a C-section, and we have to have continuous monitoring." I'm just like, oh my God, okay. So I have the narcotics. It didn't make the pain go away. It just made me so loopy where I couldn't focus on it, but I still felt it.
Right.
So that was wearing off, and I was like, hit me another time or whatever. And by this time I'm tired. It's been about maybe 12. I've been up all night the night before, at home. And then I've been up all day. And so it's about nighttime. And I'm just like, I can't manage. I can't. And so they come in to do a cervical check. And this woman, this nurse, proceeds to put her whole hand in in my space. And I'm like, ow, that hurts, stop. Oh, it'll be over, it's gonna be, it's gonna be over. You're fine, it's gonna be over. I said, stop. And then my legs begin to close on her, because that's my body saying something's not right. And she said, don't you close your legs on me.
Oh my gosh.
That was so terrible, so painful. Like, I can remember that, like, what kind of assault are you doing to me? I said, stop. I said, no. I said, don't.
Yeah, that's birth rape. That's sexual assault. And that happens to women that birth in the hospital within the medical system all the fucking time. And it's just like looked at as it's nothing. I'm so sorry.
Or that is normal. That's what's supposed.
Yeah, it's normalized.
They're supposed to do that. Would I let them do that if it were some random on the streets claiming that they're a medical staff? No.
Exactly. Oh my God.
Like, I still sometimes get shaken up from that. Because it was just like, you really. And then for me being Black, and it was a white woman, wrist deep, fist deep. And I know sometimes they are trained, the system trains people to think we can take more pain, or maybe that's just the racism that's prevalent down here.
No, that's kind of like an ideology that's built into the medical system, that Black people have a higher pain tolerance. So yeah, the procedures that they do to them, they don't need, pain medication, or you're saying, no, stop doing this. And she's just doing this because it's a part of like how when enslaved people were under the rule of white men and women, it was just so that they could torture us and abuse us and not feel bad about it, basically. Like, that's how I see it, because we were treated as lesser then. So it still runs rampant in the 21st century. That
especially after I'm telling you that it's painful and you're saying you're fine, fine.
Exactly.
What, am I lying?
Right?
No.
Yeah. What feels bad in your body. You are experiencing this. Yeah, that's so messed up.
Yeah. And after that, I believe is when I begged them for an epidural. Because I was like, I can't take no more. I'm tired. My body is in pain because I'm not producing oxytocin.
You've been traumatized.
Yeah.
Like, of course you'd ask for the epidural again. I would, if I was in that situation. Just anything to make it stop, basically.
Yeah.
Of course you'd want that.
And so I got the epidural, and I got really, really cold. And almost to where it was, I couldn't even really feel myself breathing. They had to put a mask on me, and I actually had a small anxiety attack when they put the mask on me. I used to have asthma when I was younger and was hospitalized for it, and I think that, coupled with everything that was going on, it just triggered. So I'm there. I have the epidural. I'm cold. My jaw is actually clenching where I could barely open my mouth.
Wow.
Clenching. I'm like, I need a towel to bite on or something, because this is getting painful up here. So I mean, I did hear the phrase about, an open mouth, a loose jaw, an open vagina. And I'm like, I'm not open at all. Can't be, because my jaw is clenched tight. So after about like an hour or two after getting the epidural, all these people run in to the room. The baby's heart rate. And I mean, if I knew what I know now back then, like y'all should just given me some time, give it about an hour, because they use epidural to lower blood pressure in patients that aren't even birthing.
Yeah.
So they're like, the baby, we got to get the baby out now. So of course the OB that I signed up with or that I hired is not on call. Someone else that I don't know. I don't even remember her name. It's like, okay, we're gonna have to get the baby out right away. And I think I had been in there about 12 hours, maybe. So honestly, if I in hindsight, I think they were just trying to appease me. But they knew that they wanted to cut because I was at this time coming up on 41 weeks exactly. I think they just wanted to cut, period. Like, you know, they already had in their mind, like, you know, we'll give it 12 hours and we just gonna cut her open.
Oh, totally. And you would have been considered, you know, quote unquote, high risk because you've already had your first cesarean section. You were reaching 41 weeks. You know, you're a woman of color birthing in this white hospital, which I'm only assuming. So yeah, they were totally just being like, we'll just give her a couple hours, let her think that she can birth her baby, and then we'll just cut it. That's it.
Exactly. And so I'm crying, I'm bawling, I'm in pain. They do the ritual again of numbing me from the chest down, and you know, shaving me and wheeling me to the OR, laying me on the altar. And this time, during my pregnancy, I had mentioned that I couldn't be on my back long because it was painful, or I felt like I couldn't breathe when I my back, you know, all that pressure on my spine or something like that. So, anyways, I'm on my back for the operation, and I'm telling the anesthesiologist, I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm like, I can't breathe. I need to get up. You're fine. He said, you're fine, and he was white. So he really was being very cold, like, you're being dramatic, chill out, you know, like that.
Yeah.
So I can feel myself actually dying on that table. I mean, it sounds weird, but like it just felt like it was just leaving me. It was like a pool. I don't even know how else to describe it except for a pool. And it was hard to catch my breath. I had that mask on. I was like, can you take the mask off? Take the mask off. I need to get up. I need to get up. Then I felt this push in my gut. It was like I had got uppercutted. And then they pull out the baby. Here's your baby. Oh, look at their head. There's cone shaped. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Right? Then they'd say how much she weighed. Oh, 8 pounds, 6 ounces. A whole ounce bigger than my last one. But I was having a big baby, right? So I was like, I want to go home. I want to go home. They did the surgery. I had my baby. And you know, of course, they didn't give me any food or water. They withheld it because they were prepping me indirectly for surgery. So my baby is coming out hungry, you know, and I can barely stay awake to feed her. I have video footage of me like doing this, nodding off. I'm like, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not how it's supposed to be. And I charged the next day. I told the OB, because the one that I hired, the black one, I told her, I said, I want to go home. I don't want to be here. And I really don't want to talk to you. And she's like, she comes in like she got off from vacation. This was like in December or something. She comes in kind of lounging on the little chair or something, talking.
Wait a second. Sorry, this was in December? What day in December?
The 29th. So the
Okay,
30th.
so also another reason why you most likely got that cesarean was because everybody wanted to go to their holiday parties. You were
Yeah,
taking too long to birth your baby, so they were like, "We'll just cut it out and we can go to our party in an hour," you know?
exactly. She actually was trying to schedule the induction for the 23rd or the 21st, whatever
Yeah.
day that was. I
Yeah.
can't remember what day of the week, but yeah. I had peeped that and I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. Wow.
But she looked like she got back from a nice little weekend or
Mm-hmm.
vacation, coming
Mm-hmm.
there smiling, relaxing on the little couch that they have in the recovery room, delivery recovery room, or whatever it is. Talking about I deserve. I don't know what she was talking about, but she started talking about I work hard and I deserve the things. Blah 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 blah. I'm just like,
Mm.
ma'am, I just want to go home. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's fine. We can get you the paperwork to go home. Like she was kind of like a little sassy, just a little bit. And I went home like one day after the C-section.
Wow.
So I mean, I guess they got all their money out of me.
Right.
So I'll after that, on the ride home, in my mind, I'm like, I am never stepping foot into a hospital to birth again.
Mm-hmm.
And like I stood on that. I told my sister, I told my husband, I said, I don't care what it is or how we do it. I'm not going to a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is coming up 2020 because December 2019 is when I had my second C-section.
Okay.
And so 2020.
Wait,
So
so before you go into that, how was
mhm.
this second postpartum experience then? Because you said your first one, you just kind of focused on your baby and like didn't, blurt everything out. So what was this one
Yeah,
like?
I'm glad you asked that because I kind of was jumping.
Mm,
Oh, it was terrible. And by
mm,
terrible, I mean I was angry. I was
mhm,
depressed. I was the oxy that they gave me this time, I took it.
mhm,
And first I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take it because I'm in a little pain, so I might as well just take it. Boom, right? And then after a couple of, taking it after a couple of days, I started noticing that I was taking it for the feeling and not the pain, if that makes sense. The feeling that it gave me.
yeah,
So I was like, oh my God, I need to pour these. I had to get rid of them. I dumped
mhm,
them out. So
mhm,
I'm like, I'm not about to be, you know, hooked on drugs.
mhm. That's so
Um,
scary. Wow.
yeah,
Because I'm sure there's many mothers that have had multiple children coming out of that cesarean section. They get the oxys and then it starts to make them feel good. So they are taking it, prolonged because of the feeling they get and not from the actual pain relief. And then we wonder why we have so many depressed mothers that are,
mm,
acting this way. It's because they've been hooked on narcotics and
yeah,
traumatized at birth, and it's just this vicious, awful cycle. So I'm glad
right.
that you noticed that within yourself and we're like, nope, not happening.
Right. And I even tried to call like a hotline for whatever um drug abuse or something. I was just like, I'm not right. I'm not
Mm,
right. And I knew it wasn't just because of me. I knew it had something to do with my birth, but I
mhm.
was like, well, maybe this is the postpartum that these women talk about. But it had to be directly affected from the traumatic experience that I went through.
Yeah.
So I mean my body did swell up after this time after the surgery. I was calling, I was like, is this normal? What should I do? Are you taking, you can take the medicine if it's the oxy if you're in pain or whatever. I'm just like, I'm not taking that mess. And then I was eating a pint of ice cream, maybe two a day. And I don't blame anyone that eats ice cream or whatever, but that wasn't my normal. And so to have 2 pints of ice cream every day for at least 2 weeks. It was just like, okay, what am I really doing? At one point, I hid from my children. Like, my husband got home, I gave him the baby. She's fed, she's changed, and like I went into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
I was crying, and I just couldn't deal.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband, oh my Lord, I don't even know what was going through his head, because he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to help you. What can I do? And I'm just like, just go. I can't. It's just so much, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a time.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And how was did you breastfeed your children after this cesarean? Was that easy for you, or
Yeah.
a difficult journey? How was that?
The breastfeeding part, that was fine with my children.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't an issue. I think it was just adjusting to the new life, the traumatic things that happened, and
Yep.
navigating my emotions, and just me, and I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel it was a lot of things that were disturbing around that time.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. So I want to say the first 3 months, I'm just like, this is not right. What am I going to do about it? Or,
Mm-hmm.
and after a while, I started telling women would talk to me about birth. So I was just like, look, let me give you a heads up on, the medical system. This is what happens. This is what could happen if you do this. If you go in, there's of interventions that leads to a cesarean. You don't want that. That hospital, definitely don't go there. They are knife happy over there. Their rates are super high. I was doing more research, digging deeper into not only what I already knew about the medical system from my experience, but also the extreme opposite. I'm like, where is this natural uh birthing community that I need? So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to midwifery. I'm gonna do midwifery school, but I don't want any old kind of midwifery. I don't want the medical one. I want one that's holistic, that's physiological, birth centered, things that prioritizes the birthing woman, and one that lets nature takes its course, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm not stupid for thinking that you should just kind of leave some things alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was around, I want to say, what was it, June, May, around May or something. I was looking up something. I had seen a website. I read it from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, I resonate with so much of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like looking things up on Instagram, like, where can I follow these people?
Mm-hmm.
I just need even more help to dive into this. So I also was doing a lot of mental work,
Okay.
and being okay, kind of being okay with, if I never have a natural birth, a vaginal birth, I will help women, not be like me. I'll
Mm-hmm.
tell my story if I have to. I'll dig deeper into what birth really is, actual natural birth, because in our community, when you say natural birth, it's just no epidural in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what it is, and it's
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just necessarily a home birth with a pool and a medical midwife.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all that. So, I I I I was releasing a lot of the feelings that I had towards the medical system,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing that through knowledge.
Yeah.
It's funny because the route that I took to go see my parents, I passed up like 3 hospitals. and including the one that I was traumatized at. And I would have so much anger. At first, I would be crying driving past there. But then after a while, I was like, y'all not getting one more out of me if I ever, y'all, nope. Y'all not about to trick me again. You're not about to get me. So, I did become pregnant later in 2020. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing my own prenatal care. I am going to now here's the thing. Being Black and being in the South, I have my own fear of not having a paper trail and being caught in a sense. And I didn't want anything detrimental to happen to my family. So I did go in for like a proof of pregnancy.
Yeah.
For the paperwork and all this stuff. I researched like, out of hospital birth, like what do I do that? And then it comes up like, oh, you go to your health unit in your county or your parish and you just fill out the paperwork, send it in. And at the time, I don't know how to be sovereign. Also, I mean, that's during the birth because that's just the system I live in right now. So I was like, that's it? That's all I got to do? And I called the unit, right? And she's like, oh, yeah, women do it all the time. I do like 3-4 a month for sure. I'm just like.
Of women just birthing at home by themselves.
Yeah, outside the system, like dropping off the package with no midwife. They just, I'm like, where has this information been? How did I not know this option? The only options I knew was within the medical paradigm, the obstetric medical paradigm. And that's it. Like medical midwife, if it wasn't in the hospital OB, it was at home with a medical midwife. If it wasn't with a licensed midwife, then that you didn't have no other option. Yeah. But there's another option just to let birth be and it's legal. Are you kidding me? So I'm just like, you know what? I don't know how this is going. I never had a vaginal birth before, but let's go. Let's do it. My husband was on board. Of course, he was just like, okay, I don't know either, but okay. You know, I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to do much. My body's going to do it. Okay. All right. So, I did now. So back to that interaction, because I'm Black, I wanted the paper trail. I brought my sister with me to the appointment. So this is my third pregnancy. Yeah. And I got an appointment for the proof of pregnancy. And before the OB can walk in, I told my sister everything that the OB will tell me because of my prior birth history. Since I said, since I have 2 C-sections, they're going to say, oh, you have about a 5 to 6% chance of a uterine rupture. I would prefer that, you know, you can TOLAC, but you know, it probably looks like you're going to have another C-section, blah, 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 blah. I told all that to my sister. They walked in, the OB walks in, says exactly the same thing. My sister's like, wow, how did you know that? I said, girl, they're not getting me. I did my research, and then I told my sister, I said, they're not even giving all of the facts, because for one, you making that 6%, 1 to 6% seem like I'm that, right? What about that other 94%, over 94% for one? And then for two, you're not telling the truth, the whole truth. There's women in hospitals being induced, overworked uterus. That's not accounting for at home.
Yep, exactly.
So she was just like, okay, Bree, you own it. I was like, yes, I am, right? Oh, man. So, oh, and also I know that in the medical system, they will flip it, because let's say if there's a 6% failure, oh, you got a 94% success rate, right? Depending on if it's lucrative for them or not, or if it's something that they would want to do. Anyhow, So I was just like, I'm not scared. You can't scare me with your words right now. You cannot coerce me or have any fear tactics for what I want, because I have my solid why. I've already experienced the extreme. I've already experienced the extreme, and I'm not going that route again. I mean, for me, I had to do a free birth because I had to. Like,
Yeah.
for some women that's extreme, but I had the extreme.
Exactly. You had it on
And
the
so
other side of the spectrum. Now you're just
exactly.
going, yeah. And you're taking
Exactly.
your power back. That's it. You had your power so drastically taken from you
Yeah.
in birth one, and then even more so in birth two,
Yeah.
that you kind of get backed into a corner of like you said, you drive past the hospital, and at first it made you cry every time, and then you were just like, no more, and that's
Right.
you stepping into your power and saying, if I have to do this, at home to have the birth that I've always wanted, that's what I'm gonna do. And that's amazing.
Right. Yeah, and it's because I knew my body can do it. Like,
Yeah.
it was not, I knew nothing was wrong with me. I knew my body wasn't broken.
Yeah.
I knew that I left home, and that's where I take my responsibility. I had to have a hard look at it and take my responsibility in giving up my power as
Exactly.
well. And I left home. I could have stayed, even though, I mean, that was my mental conditioning, my social conditioned mind telling me to leave. I could have stayed home. No one put a gun up to my head to leave. No one made me do anything in a sense. I still made certain decisions, and that's on me. So, man, I'm just in total, like, I'm just I'm feeling myself really on my third pregnancy. I'm like, I'm not talking to certain people because y'all not about to sabotage my pregnancy space.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you my plans because I already know where your mind is. I'm past that right now. So, I pretty much was trying to keep it a safe zone. Around week 24, I kept somewhat of a journal. Some fear rose up, and it's like, I felt like I needed to put my baby in a hospital. Like, that was the fear, like something could go wrong. I'm like, okay, let's sit with this. Do I really need to go to the hospital? What can they do for me? And the only thing that I could come up with was that they were going to watch me and they were going to cut me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because they can't do anything else but watch me and cut me.
Yeah.
And do some of the interventions. So I was like, you know what, Bree, come on, get it together. You're good. We are good. Your body and your baby are safe. Your body knows what to do. Embrace the unknown. These were like some of the affirmations that I kept telling myself. And I had some cards up, and I was listening to some affirmation. And this is all during my pregnancy, because I believe that, you don't just start something when in that moment that you need it. It's a practice. It's a practice.
Yeah. So you're doing it throughout the journey.
Yes. So it grounded me. So 40-week mark comes and I'm celebrated, right? I text my sister. I'm like, happy 40 weeks to me. Happy 40 weeks. Oh man, I was just like, I invite all the feelings of birth, the emergent process, the waves, the sensations, the surges. I'm just like inviting it all in. So actually, the 40-week mark, nope, let me go back. At week 38, I noticed a shift. So after 20 weeks, I know that I would feel surges, right? At 38 weeks, I felt the shift. And I was like, okay, all right, we're gonna roll with it. And then week 40, at the 40-week mark, I had invited all the feels, and that's when another shift came. And so that night, my husband, he was working the night shift. So I went to my mom's house with my other two children, And I was feeling it. I was like, okay, I think it's happening, but I'm about to hype myself up. I need to get some rest or something, but I think it's happening. It's been and even in that birth, I was conscious not to be time conscious so much.
Okay.
Any measurements, I was like, it does not matter, because someone can go from 0 to 10 in 2 minutes. And the only thing that matters is either a baby's in or baby out. So either I'm a 0 or I'm a 10. And as far as centimeters, that's it. And as far as contractions or surges, because she's in the hospital, but as far as sensations, the pattern will come, the rhythm will come. So if I feel it, I feel it. And I'm gonna just ride them. So that night I was feeling them. I was doing my J breathing, and I was like, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to bed. I was feeling them a little bit, and I went to sleep. They dissipated. So the next day, I'm 41, and they're revving up. I was feeling them slightly every 10 minutes or so. But here's the thing, my vision was to be at home with my husband and my children be at my mom's home.
Okay.
So that's not where I was. So even though things were getting revved up, my everything wasn't aligned. So my spiritual, mental, physical wasn't all aligned until 40 and the next day, when my husband was off and I was at home. And that night, after I had cleaned, because apparently nesting that just takes over. I cleaned really, really well. And I told my husband, he's like, I'm gonna just take them home. I'm gonna take the girls to your mom's house just in case something pop off tonight. I was like, cool, right? And I get in the shower. I had some cookies in the oven, and these little details matter because that's the only timestamps that I have.
Okay.
So I knew the cookies need to be out at 10:30. My husband got back around 10:30, and he took them out. I was getting out the shower, and they were coming in, boom, 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 boom. The sensations, back to back to back to back to back. I didn't even get to eat my cookie, right? Even though I wanted it. So they would come back to back to back. I was like, okay. Whew. And I knew I wanted it dark. I had the lights off, had a little light in there, had my fan oscillating. I was like, okay, I need to lay down. So I go from the bigger bathroom to my room, and I get on the bed. I lay on my left side, and it just went up a notch. I was like, oh no. And I got up. I was like, I think I need a poop. So I go to our smaller bathroom. It's really because I thought I needed bigger space to birth. Anyhow, I get into the restroom, and then they start coming again. I'm J breathing and all that stuff. After a while, I'm just like, I'm gonna just lay on my left side. And then I let out a big roar. I went from to my husband comes in. And by the way, here's the other thing. I wanted my husband accessible to me, but not just kind of hovering. That's just how I wanted it. And I didn't want any photography. I didn't want anything that could possibly sabotage what could be the most healing thing for me, or the birth that I wanted.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I was intentional with that as well. So my husband came in. He comes in. Oh, you okay? You all right? Okay. I can rub you. I said, oh, I don't think I could do it. Obviously that, I don't know. I just felt like I couldn't. And then I let out another roar. And so then I say, I wanted him to call one of my midwifery friends or something. I was like, I need something. I just need to go. Maybe I need to go to the other. Like, that's how I was talking. And then, so he's making a phone call. And then in my mind, I'm like, Bree, get it together. What is anyone going to do for you? Get it together. Calm down. So had a little pep talk real quick in my head, and I just, kind of breathed, and I roared one more time, and my waters broke.
Wow.
Waters opened up, and I said, oh, he's coming. My baby's coming. And after that, it was just like, like euphoria. And at least from my perspective, my husband said, you were just, I thought I was just like, So I was like, oh my God. So I'm smiling from ear to ear. I'm just like, he's coming. My baby's coming. And it felt very, I want to say almost orgasmic. Like I did not push. I did not force push. I laid there. I had my leg up. My husband, he was doing like this, ready to catch my baby. And and he just came out. He just slipped out. And I was like, oh my God, I did it. Did it. We did it. And so I can timestamp that he came, my baby came. It was around 1:40-ish because my husband made that phone call at 1:37. So from 10:30 to about 1:37 or 1:41, that was the time that it was like back to back to back as far as the emergent process.
Right.
So essentially 3 hours. And that's how it went. And postpartum after that, I did a lotus birth. And then actually I burnt the cord about 12 hours later.
Okay.
And the thing fell off within 4 or 5 days. My other ones, the stump fell off like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. So I was just amazed at this natural process that I trusted. I was like, oh my gosh, I knew I can do it. Like I just knew it, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but I just let it be. Wow. I didn't have any interruptions. And I was able to have that sigh of relief, like I birthed the way I wanted to birth. And
that's so beautiful. Wow. That's so beautiful. That's such, wow, that story is just so amazing that you had that deep trust, and you knew you could birth your babies, that you really knew that you could. And because all women can, like that's the straight truth of it. All women can birth their babies vaginally. That's just how our bodies are made.
Yes.
It's just what is meant to happen. And you believed it, and you did it. You absolutely did it with you and your husband present, and had this beautiful, powerful experience. And like, oh my gosh, it's just, I'm just imagining that whole scenario of you being there, like giving yourself that pep talk, like you can do this. No one can say you, like just do it. And then beautifully having your baby just slide out of your body, and it's just so peaceful and so in bliss. And wow, that makes me so incredibly happy for you. Like,
yes, thank you.
Makes my heart explode. That's so beautiful to hear that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so like, that was it was a healing event as well.
Totally.
Because very healing, because there was no, from my perspective, there weren't any traumas with that as far as the birth was concerned. And we did a very good job of keeping it simple, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Keeping birth simple, keeping pregnancy simple. And when we look at it that way, it's like all that extra stuff really doesn't matter, because it's almost as it's a bodily function, just like doing a number 2. Yeah. Okay. and I don't know. I was just
yeah, you just let your body lead, and your body knew exactly where it needed to go and what needed to happen. Like that's it. Like birth is simple. Like you say, just keeping it simple. It is so simple if you just let it be simple.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Whew.
So amazing. I have a quick question for you though. You mentioned that you were doing J breathing. I've never heard of that. What is that?
Oh, yes. So I forgot how I came across it. I came across it in my second pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when the woman is sitting, or a person, they're sitting and they breathe in and breathe down instead of breathing in and out. So and it kind of, it's like that bass and that deepness is going down and actually opening up, relaxing the muscles down there.
Okay.
Yeah, I've even tried it, doing a number two, and it works. I told my parents about it, and I was like, try doing this, and it helps relax that area, and makes things come more naturally. Yep.
Okay, cool. Nice. Wow. Okay, interesting. And then this postpartum with this baby, what was this like?
It was light and love, and also a little bit of fight because I had to go to I got my baby checked for the paperwork. So they require the baby to go to see a physician.
Okay.
To make sure that it was alive. And then to get the documentation for a birth certificate. So then it was a little bit of fight, but I was like, y'all not gonna take my joy. Okay. I did something really amazing. Bump whatever y'all think. Y'all can't stop me. And if I have another one, y'all can't stop me then.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow.
So it was really nice to have that support from my husband, from some of the midwifery friends. They sent stuff. They ordered food for me for that week. I was just, well, for a couple of weeks. It was great. Yes.
Aww, I love that. Oh, that's so nice. Wow. Yeah, your story is just so powerful that you went through all of that with the first two births to have this amazing free birth at home. And wow, it's so inspiring. It's so amazing. It's so, yeah, I can't wait for other women to hear this and to hear what you went through and how you took your power back, and claimed, yeah, yourself as a woman who can birth. So
right. And even though, and here's the phrase that I've come up with lately, is that I'm proof that the systematic conditioning works, but I'm also proof that you can break out of it.
Yep.
That you can unlearn and relearn, for sure. Because I did it twice over. Some women, once, and then they get the resources to do whatever, or they find however to not let it happen again. It happened again to me, but then I didn't let it happen again.
Yep.
So I'm proof that it works, that systematic conditioning, but then I'm proof that you can break out of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's so true. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about your pregnancy experiences or postpartum birth experiences? Do you feel complete?
Yeah, I feel complete. I mean, I'm pregnant with I'm for the fourth time.
Okay.
I don't know if you can tell. Let me see.
Oh, yay! Congratulations! Amazing.
Yeah, so that's that free birth is happening.
Yeah, you'll have to reach out to me afterwards and share that story. Oh, wow. Okay. If there are any women, any mothers that have had repeat cesarean sections and they want to speak to you personally because you have had one free birth after both those cesareans and are moving into another one, how can these women contact you and
Yes, they can contact me on Instagram at The Birthing Phoenix,
Okay.
and also by email,
Okay.
thebirthingphoenix@gmail.com.
Perfect.
And I mean, I would love to talk, to share. I actually have kind of a mini course geared around Black women, VBAC women, even first time moms if they want to avoid, going the route that I went. So I offer that if women reach out to me for even that. So at The Birthing Phoenix on Instagram and thebirthingphoenix@gmail.com.
Perfect. Wonderful. I'm going to add that all to the show notes because I know that there are women out there that are going to use this story as inspiration and want to reach out to you to have a guide in having the birth the redemptive birth, the birth they always knew they could have. So thank you so much, Bree, for being here today with me.
Well, thank you, Karma, for having me. I hope this reaches out to whoever it's meant for.
Yeah, it absolutely will. Thank you, sisters, so much for listening to this episode of the Free Birthing in Color podcast. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one in a primal activation session, donate to the podcast, or to have your story featured here or in the blog, go to primalwomanportal.com for all the information to do so. Did you want to connect with our guest speaker? You can find all her information linked within the show notes. And if you have time, please subscribe, write a review, and tell a friend to have a listen so that this podcast and these stories of women birthing in their total power can be shared far and wide. Don't forget to check out the show notes for information on the Earth Daughters Women's Festival, the Breach Without Borders workshop, and much more. New episodes drop every Thursday morning, so stay tuned for the next amazing story to be shared on any platform that you prefer to listen to your podcasts on, or watch these episodes on the Free Birthing in Color YouTube page. And remember, your voice and your story matters. So if you're a woman of color or an Indigenous woman who's had a wild pregnancy and or birth outside of the medical system, submit your story because it's so important that your voice is heard and celebrated in your radical journey of pregnancy, birth, and motherhood.